the man in charge of this team, developing the roster, putting it all together. Rick Spielman, the GM of the Minnesota Vikings, thank you very much. It seems like this has become kind of a ritual of sorts to start out the season.
Yeah, no,
Vikings
I'm
Game Day
surprised
Live.
you keep inviting me back, but apparently you can't get any other guest.
Oh, come on now. Come on. We love having you on.
Well,
Great
with the
insights.
secrets.
Yeah.
I come out to entertain. That's what I do.
Thank you. We love it. We appreciate it every single year. So last season didn't go according to plan at all for this team. How long did it truly take you to get over 2018 before moving into 2019?
I don't know if you ever get over it because that's what's driving us, I think, all through the offseason. When Coach Zim, when we made some of the changes on the coaching staff, how we approach free agency, how we approach the draft. And I think that's always a driving force. And even today, you move on from, you can't dwell on the past, but also you can use it as a motivation as well.
So moving on, I know you don't want to, but we're going to move on to 2019. Kirk Cousins said
Yeah,
that,
I do want to, actually. if you want to know the truth. Yeah.
Kirk Cousins said that his guys are back. He has Diggs, he has Thielen, he has Rudolph that re-signed, Dalvin Cook's back, Bradbury drafted. How does it, what are your expectations now looking at most of the defense and most of the offense is back from, the past 2 years?
No, we've kept that defense pretty much intact and, fortunate to get some of the guys back that had an opportunity to leave but wanted to stay because I do think we have a pretty unique team. Not only some of these guys' ability on the field, but their bond and what they mean to each other inside that locker room. But I think the second year around, you see the progress. I know one of the points of emphasis this offseason, not only on adjusting some of the things we're looking at from a personnel standpoint, especially up front with the offensive line. What are we going to do? What are we going to run? What are the physical traits? And felt very confident we were all on the same page with that, especially with Kevin Stefanski getting promoted and bringing in Gary Kubiak and Rico Dennison. But I also know the point was, what does Kirk do well? And he's always been one of the top play-action pass quarterbacks in the league, and I don't know if we were even in the top 10 last year in that category. So the coaches did a great job this offseason just honing in what do our guys do best, and let's utilize that. But under Coach Zimmer, I know three things. We want to play good defense, we want to be able to run the ball, and we want to make big plays off of our running game, and we got away from that a little bit last year.
With Kirk Cousins taking over now in year two, you mentioned the coaching changes he has. What do you expect this offense to look like? I know you can say what you want on paper, but whenever the team gets out on the field,
I think we'll start seeing that as we continue to evolve through this process. I mean, we've been in shorts. Today is the first day, I think, since the end of last season, that we're actually going to start in pads. So I think it's progressively building. I think the identity will come as we go through training camp and get through the preseason game. I know from a trait standpoint on being smart, tough-minded, high character, and truly passion for the game, and we want to be a very physical football team. I think we brought those type of players in. But now we'll start to see that hopefully develop as we go through, and especially as you know, when you get into the dog days of August, when you're in pads, that's when that mentality really comes in.
Yeah, speaking of putting on the pads, I think nobody could be more excited than the offensive line and the running backs because now they actually get to show what they can do. With Dalvin Cook in his third year, I see him with the Alvin Kamara ability. He can catch the ball, he can run after the catch, and we saw last year some of his spins in space. How excited are you, or what are you expecting from him in his third year?
I think coming off that ACL and being a year removed now from that, I know what an explosive player he was down at Florida State, and you've seen that last year. I think with the schematic approach that they're taking with the run game and adjusting to what Dalvin does, because he's a great outside zone runner, he has great vision. He can find those creases, and he's an open field playmaker once he gets out in space. So I think you'll see a lot of things that tailor to his strengths as well.
Should we expect to see more running the ball this season?
I don't know. We haven't talked about it all off season. So I just know if you go back and look statistically, I think if you're a team that's going to throw the ball 40 or 50 times a game, not many of those teams end up in the playoffs or actually winning the Super Bowl.
You go out, you get Garrett Bradbury as your center now with your first-round pick in the NFL draft. You've gotten to know him pretty well over the last few weeks. What has impressed you the most about Garrett Bradbury, both on the field and off?
I think the biggest thing is, one, the intelligence, because you have to be intelligent to play offensive center. And the way he's adjusted, and all these offensive linemen coming up from the collegiate level, now you got to identify the mic. Now you got to adjust the protections. Now you're seeing a lot of different things from a defensive scheme that you didn't see in college. But he's very smart, adapted very well. You can tell his maturity level, and you can see the physical ability out here so far in shorts. I know he's very athletic, plays with great leverage, is a great space player, especially out on screens or getting to the second level out on linebackers. So we're excited to see what he does in pads now.
Yeah, the last 2 years, you've had the #1 defense on third down. You've had the top 2 defense in stopping the pass. You've had a top 2 in 2017, and then last year, kind of a fall off in the run game as far as top 15. So, I think it was right around like 17 yards more, in the run game than, previous years. What are you expecting from this team now that everybody's back?
I think what you have to look back, and as we go back, and I know Coach Zim evaluates everything, okay, the reason some of those stats is we didn't hold the ball on offense as much, okay? So when you're able to control the line of scrimmage, when you're able to run the ball, you're also controlling the time of possession during a game. And we held the ball 4 or 5 minutes less than we have in previous years, which means your defense is going to be out there a lot more snaps than they previously have been. So that's going to lead to some increase in the statistical part of it.
So many pieces back in this 2019 team.
Coaches, that sound kind of intelligent?
Oh, yeah.
It sounded great. It sounded great.
Geez, maybe send me the questions next time.
So many pieces back from last year's team back in 2019. Coaches have their expectations. Players have their expectations. But as the architect of this team, what's your top expectation in 2019?
Everybody, I think if you ask 31 other teams, their expectations are to go out and win this thing. That's why you do this for a living. That's why you work so hard during the offseason to put a roster together, to make all the changes. That's why the coaches work so hard to adjust from a schematic standpoint what we can do better. That's why we come out here through the OTAs and mini camps and now getting ready to start bashing heads here today for the first time. You do this ultimately to win that Super Bowl, or else you shouldn't be in this business.
Rick Spielman, thank you very much for joining us for yet another year on Vikings Game Day Live on this
Can't wait
Sunday
till
morning.
next year.